Wire's It Girl has quit. Brett Cooper, who they hired 3 years ago and then built a set for, looking like she was an ordinary teenage girl in her bedroom making YouTube videos, but it was a Daily Wire set, skyrocketing her to 1 million subscribers within about 6 months, which was quite stunning, up to 4.5 million subscribers. And now she is walking away from the show.
Brett Cooper, breaking news, has walked away. They've separated. She has separated from the Daily Wire. This is going to be a topic from the right. I do topics on the left, the right, whatever else. I'm hoping if you're on the left that you want to know what's going on. Everybody's talked about this Mark Dice breakdown. Mark Dice is one of the biggest names on the right, a guy I respect a lot. He breaks down Brett Cooper. It is a surprising exit. We heard rumors leading up to it, but before those rumors, we didn't know anything because we don't know when their contract's up. I don't even know if this was because the contract was up or not, but she exited the Daily Wire. We're going to get into why it matters. We're going to talk about her epic rise. We're going to talk about why I like her. I've always been a fan of hers. I really like her style. She is not just doing well, she's dominating. And we're going to talk about her watching Candace Owens and others have success separating from the big brother type of, in the alt space at least, the big brother of the Daily Wire type of beast, whether it's PragerU, Daily Wire, or the few institutions that dominate alt media. Why did Brett Cooper leave? Mark Dice is going to break that down. Ben Shapiro is going to come up. Jeremy Boring's going to come up. Candace Owens is going to come up. Of course, the Daily Wire is going to be there. But this was not just business as usual. This is Brett Cooper saying that I'm a powerhouse and you're going to have to pay me, or I can pay myself.
At first, I thought she's getting back into acting. She did some acting when she was younger. Or I thought maybe she's just going to be a mom. She just got married and she wants to be a mom and not do the show. But the more I look into it, and after watching her message about her departure, it sure looks like it's about money. The Daily Wire is now valued at over $1 billion. Their revenue for 2024 exceeded $200 million. Brett Cooper's views, which you can see.
Daily Wire has been propped up. Brett Cooper, indirectly because of that, has been propped up by big tech, believe it or not. They've done really well on Facebook. A lot of people like Elijah Schaffer, for example. I don't think he's even monetized on Facebook. He can't even get views on Facebook. There's others who aren't even on Facebook because Facebook Meta has removed them. So Daily Wire gets propped up. They know people at Google. They're in with the people at Google. So they're almost part of that infrastructure. Are they really alt media? Let's take a look. He's going to break down her numbers here.
In detail on socialblade.com, which archives and details all YouTube channels' statistics, exceed Ben Shapiro's views, far exceeding Matt Walsh's and anybody else over at that network. There were rumors circulating for the last few weeks that she was being forced out of the Daily Wire or that she had a falling out with Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Boring, the CEO, over them firing Candace Owens, but I wouldn't give a single ounce of credibility to that. I don't think she cares that they fired Candace Owens because she is more of a pop culture personality, not a political personality, and isn't really interested in America's foreign policy in the Middle East, especially when it comes to dealing with.
I don't know if I agree with Mark there. We don't know. I don't know. It doesn't sound like he knows. But the reports way before even this was that this came up when Candace Owens had the beef with Ben Shapiro. We have to go all the way back to that. We have to go back to Crowder's beef with Daily Wire. He used to be friends with Jeremy Boring. I don't know where the relationship stands now, but they had a contract dispute. Going back to when Candace Owens fell out with Ben Shapiro, the reports were Ben Shapiro's living in, I don't know, I think it's Florida, and everybody else was working out of Tennessee. That's my understanding. Or wherever they were close. Matt Walsh, Brett Cooper, Candace Owens. And look what happened after she left. Matt Walsh gave her big props up on X. Candace Owens gave her big props up on X. I don't even know if Ben Shapiro said anything. Jeremy Boring gave just a dry corporate statement. So it all lines up that I don't know about Mark Dice's comment here, and it lines that Whether she likes the Middle East or not, or talks about that, that's not her thing. But she might have opinions and she just doesn't want to talk about it. It sounds like she was cool with Candace Owens and Matt Walsh.
America's foreign policy in the Middle East, especially when it comes to dealing with Israel. Here's her departing message, and you can hear it in her voice that she's not pleased about this, that there's some bad blood over there, and I am 99% sure it has nothing to do with any kind of creative differences. It's that she saw how many views she was getting and demanded a ton of money, which they didn't want to give her.
So if he comes from that angle, Mark Dice here breaking down the Brett Cooper leaving the Daily Wire. If Mark Dice is coming from the angle that Brett Cooper didn't have creative differences because she doesn't talk about the Middle East and it was just money, I could see that. But don't say that she didn't care that Candace Owens left. I think that affected Matt Walsh as well.
Because the Daily Wire literally made her. They created her channel, created her show, poured millions of dollars into promoting.
Love Mark Dice. Mark Dice is very accessible. I forgot what happened. He reached out to me when I chatted with him and we agreed on something a while back. He's big name. He's very accessible. I do disagree here, though. Let me play this here and show you what did I disagree with. Let me play this back.
Channel, created her show, poured millions of dollars into promoting her.
He said the Daily Wire made her. I don't agree with that.
And it demanded a ton of money, which they didn't want to give her because the Daily Wire literally made her. They created her channel.
No, I don't agree with that. She is a talent. Yeah, you could say the Chicago Bulls gave Michael Jordan. Did they make Michael Jordan? They paid a lot for traders and all that. They helped her career. They boosted her up. But that's separate from her being a talent. She is an incredible talent. Mark's going to talk about it here. Mark Dice is going to talk about Brett Cooper. Why does this matter? I should have started earlier by telling you, stick to say, why does this matter? Here we go.
Created her show, poured millions of dollars into promoting her. And you know that I don't sugarcoat things. You know, I give things to you straight. Everybody in this business has a huge ego. Okay. I like to think that I can keep mine in check most of the time, but it's an egomania industry.
Hey guys, some of you have heard the rumors online, and the rumors are mostly true. Today, December 10th, will be my last day hosting the comment section and working for the Daily Wire. It is not true that I am being forced out. It was my own choice to leave. And believe me, this is bittersweet. I have had the most unbelievable 3 years helping to craft the show, building this community, and telling stories and sharing the truth every day. Through the comment section, you all have made me braver, more articulate, more thoughtful, more hopeful than I could have ever imagined. And I'm grateful that we spent this time together. And I'm grateful that the Daily Wire gave us a platform to grow this community. But at this point in my life, I am ready to take on a new direction, both personally and professionally. This means new challenges and new endeavors, which I will share with you soon. As for this show, the comment section will continue with the Daily Wire. My producer, Reagan, is taking over as host of the comment section, and I wish her and the Daily Wire all the best.
And I'm sure Brett's...
For me at least, she comes across as very believable. That is your currency on these platforms. I talk about it every single reaction. This time it's with Brett Cooper, and Mark Dice comes across that way too, so there's no beef with him. Brett Cooper, comes across as genuine even in that response, except for the part with the producer, but who cares about that? They were friends. The producer was her maid of honor. There's obviously beef there. She deleted every Instagram post, to my understanding. I did not check. Reportedly, every Instagram post, or a lot of them, that had her in it. Keep that out, because that's out of corporate. She didn't, I don't think she really wished them well. Other than maybe just like your base, like, I don't want to have beef with you. Everything else, she said, it was my choice to leave. I believe it. I believe it was her choice to leave. I believe it was something to the effect of what Steven Crowder was talking about. When the Steven Crowder stuff came up, Brett Cooper said she didn't have the demonetization stuff in her contract. She doesn't really have to worry about that. She's very soft and safe. But my point was, her contract was different than the Candace Owens and Crowder reportedly. Because Candace said, I recognize the verbiage in the Steven Crowder contract that he never took. Brett Cooper said, I didn't recognize the verbiage. Now she's up. They spent millions of dollars in on her. and they want the return on the investment. I did a reaction to Tim Pool. He talked about that. So now they're going to say, here's the contract. And the contract probably looked like the one that Steven Crowder was pissed off about. And Brett Cooper can look at Candace Owens. Candace Owens has $3.2 million. That's what we're going to talk about right now. You look at, I can't pronounce her name either. The one with the name that can be kind of hard to pronounce. She talks very fast, very good. The black young lady, she has $2 million. She works her ass off. She does a great show. Brett Cooper is watching that. Outside of Young Nick is the number one Gen Z political person out there, in my opinion. She is the number two. I'm trying to think, is there, from the right, is there, and there's nobody on the left that would contest. Let's get back to Mark Dice on Brett Cooper, but I think Brett Cooper is the number two, or if you want to forget about Young Nick, she's the number one Gen Z political talking person out there.
Saw that Candace Owens was able to build up her personal channel to over 3 million subscribers after getting fired from the Daily Wire, which is about the same number that her Candace Owens podcast channel had, which was owned and operated by the Daily Wire, which they then later quietly deleted after she was fired. And in case you've been living under a rock, Candace violated the unwritten rule of conservative media. She criticized Israel. And when somebody does that, they get the call. Their colleagues will privately reach out to them or their boss to correct their mistake. And then if they make it again, then, well, you know what happens. Of course, you can criticize Ukraine all day long, or Russia, or China, or Mexico,
or the U.S.,
Canada, or the United States. But once a conservative mainstream pundit criticizes a certain little country over in the Middle East, and then, well, things start happening. The Daily Wire made her. If she started a YouTube channel all on her own, she might have eventually reached the 1 million sub club and started rubbing elbows with Conservative Inc., but she wouldn't have blown up to 1 million subscribers within 6 months, and certainly wouldn't have reached 4.5 million, which is, I believe, the most subscribed female conservative commentator ever. Excuse me, Jeremy Boring, would you like to issue a lame prepared statement pretending that this dispute isn't over money in attempts to try to prevent the Daily Wire's brand from being further tarnished after the Candace Owens debacle?
Bittersweet indeed. We're sad to see Brett go, but we're excited to see her take the next step in her journey. Brett's an amazing talent, both as a personality and as an actress. It's been a pleasure to see her bring the comment section to life these last 3 years, and her performance in the Pendragon cycle is sensational. I'm certain that whatever Brett creates next will be filled with the same joy and laughter and heart that she's brought to all of her work at the Daily Wire. And we wish her nothing but the best.
I'm sure you do. That's the face of someone who's being completely sincere. So
yeah, that was a struggle there. But Jeremy Boring is still likable in many ways. But I think it's very hard to replace. If it's not Brett Cooper, and there's not the her name begins with an A. Somebody tell me in the comments. She's very good, but those, I think she might be Gen Z too. I don't know of any other person in the right that's a Gen Zer other than Young Nick, Cooper, the one with that name is an A. I don't know. There's some other ones that have some influence, but you can't replace, my point is you can't replace Brett Cooper easily. Let's get back to Mark Dice.
This is going to be a Rorschach test. People who don't like the Daily Wire are going to be glad that she's finally free from Conservative Inc. to do and say whatever she wants, even though I'm sure that her content isn't going to change one bit. People who like the Daily Wire are going to be sad, maybe even a little disappointed or even upset at her for being a little greedy, for wanting too much money that they supposedly couldn't afford to then re-sign her and renew her contract. Me, on the other hand, I don't have a side. I don't have a dog in this fight. I'm a media analyst, a critic. I give you both the good and the bad. Just like when the Daily...
I am biased towards, I'm be fully honest, I am biased towards Brett Cooper. I think she's going to be even better after leaving. I've said that before. I think the Daily Wire helped her polish herself, but it also restricted her. And I think you're going to see her talk about more things. She could also go the vlogging way too. She could go even more normie, which is fine. Somebody said, why do everybody on the right like this basic B? You know, the term basic B, basic female dog. And my take was, what's wrong with liking a basic female dog? Shouldn't female dogs all be basic? I think women should be basic. I don't have a problem with that. 99% of them should be basic.
Daily Wire had their dust up with Steven Crowder. Instead of using that to trash the Daily Wire, even though I'm probably the biggest critic on the right, I actually defended the Daily Wire because Steven Crowder was being extremely deceptive about what he claimed happened. Steven
I disagree with Mark on that one.
knows that his audience doesn't know how this industry
On that topic, I agreed with Steven. Steven Crowder has been proven right. I don't even know how Mark's bringing that up on this point.
works, what the norms are, how the contracts actually function regarding monetization and ad revenue, and to a certain extent, I think was even lying to himself. When the Daily Wire fired Candace Owens after she dared to express some sadness and sympathy for the innocent Palestinian civilians, women and children in Gaza, after Israel's response to the horrifying attack that Hamas had waged against Israel, if you missed it, go check those previous videos because I probably literally am the harshest critic of the Daily Wire on the right. So few people actually in the right conservative media had the guts to call out the Daily Wire for doing what they did. They want to be a little bit afraid because the unwritten rule of not criticizing Israel became as clear as day.
Yes, it is very clear. It puts you in danger if you're making that money at that level with a Daily Wire. Let me know what you think. Does it matter to you, the Brett Cooper? Are you interested? If you're on the left, are you interested in this? Many times I'm on the right watching stuff that happens on the left. I recently did a reaction to Mondale Robinson crashing out on the Young Turks. I'm not really in that world, but I found it very interesting to see what was happening. I like populists on any side of the aisle, or there's no aisle. There's no populist in D.C., really. I don't think there's any that I would consider. So let me know what you think. I wish Brett Cooper the best. I think she's going to be a star. Her channel's already got hundreds of thousands, maybe even up to 1 million. I haven't seen it recently, the YouTube channel. And I wish her the best. And let's see how this whole thing is going to play out. There's a lot of moving pieces in the alt media space right now.